Hi, and welcome to Gossip Spill. Today, we're diving into the escalating Snow White controversy, which hit a fever pitch with the release of the film's second trailer. The numbers are jaw-dropping. As of December 10th, the trailer has racked up just 27,000 likes, compared to a staggering 800,000 dislikes, a crushing 14-to-1 negative ratio. At this rate, it's on track to reach 1 million dislikes within days. This avalanche of backlash is a major headache for Disney CEO Bob Iger, especially since it follows lead actress Rachel Zegler's inflammatory comments, which reportedly alienated tens of millions of Americans. This isn't just noise from a vocal few. The sheer scale of the backlash shows widespread rejection of Disney's strategy with this remake.
I love what you said about wanting to entertain audiences, critics saying Disney's too woke, but you're just putting out storytelling.
We are. Look, I don't really like the term woke because I think it's an umbrella term that I'm not 100% sure I even know what it means, and one could argue that sometimes it's used too liberally. That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
Unlike other live-action adaptations like Dumbo or The Lion King, which faced mixed reactions, Snow White is being labeled by some as Disney's public enemy #1. This isn't merely about production quality or visual effects. It's become a heated debate over Disney's treatment of its iconic classics and its relentless push for modernization, seemingly at the expense of audience preferences. The overwhelming wave of dislikes on the second trailer is now a glaring symbol of the growing rift between Disney and its audience. Many see it as proof that the studio has misjudged what fans truly want. The speed and scale of the backlash hint at an organized, passionate effort by viewers who feel ignored, and they're making their voices impossible to overlook. Rachel Zegler's public statements have become a lightning rod in the Snow White controversy, igniting widespread backlash. Her remarks, especially her dismissive attitude toward the original 1937 film, have struck a nerve with fans. She's repeatedly described the remake as fixing outdated elements of the beloved classic, a sentiment many longtime viewers see as condescending and disrespectful. What stirred the most outrage, however, are her recent comments that some interpret as openly hostile to potential audiences. Reports claim she made statements like, "May you never know peace," toward those with differing political views. These remarks have escalated what could have been a creative debate into a full-blown cultural flashpoint, dividing fans and critics alike.
The trailer for the Snow White movie has been getting cooked on the internet these past couple of days, and it is not looking good. Now, in case you didn't know, the trailer for this movie came out just a couple of days ago at D23, and if you thought fans hated the idea of a live-action remake about Snow White, well, they sure do now, because it's already one of the most hated movie trailers in history with over 1 million dislikes in less than 2 weeks. And look, this movie already had a lot of backlash before the trailer even came out, with said photos giving us a look at what seemed to be the 7 dwarves in this movie.
Zegler's tone during interviews has only added fuel to the fire. Instead of honoring the legacy of Snow White while explaining the remake's updates, her words have often been perceived as belittling the original film's value. Her discussions about altering the prince's role and the love story have particularly drawn ire, with many describing her explanations as snarky and dismissive of fan concerns about preserving the classic themes. This approach to publicity has created a rare scenario where the lead actress seems to be alienating the very audience the film needs. Industry experts note that actors often reinterpret classic roles, but Zegler's apparent disdain for core aspects of the original story has crossed into territory that feels antagonistic to longtime fans. Instead of excitement for the remake, her comments have sparked frustration and even anger, deepening the divide between Disney and its audience. The changes to Snow White's story have become lightning rods for controversy, with every new reveal pushing the remake further from its roots. Among the most divisive alterations is the removal of the 7 dwarfs, prompted by actor Peter Dinklage's critique of the original as potentially offensive to little people. Disney's response, replacing the dwarfs with magical beings, has backfired, with many criticizing it as an overcorrection that eliminates opportunities for little people actors instead of addressing inclusivity meaningfully. Casting decisions have only added fuel to the fire. While audiences largely embraced Halle Bailey's portrayal of Ariel in The Little Mermaid, Snow White presents a unique challenge. Critics argue that the very name Snow White, which describes her skin as white as snow, is deeply tied to the character's identity.
Disney's Snow White remake that was supposed to be coming out in 2024 is now going to be coming out in 2025, and it seems like they've taken in some of the backlash and made some changes. Y'all remember the 7 magical diversity hires that were put together to replace the 7 dwarves that we know and love? Well, a new shot from the film shows that they've brought back the 7 dwarves and they're now CGI. And since the film is not coming out till 2025, it seems like they have plenty of time to go and edit and reshape the plot. We all know that Rachel Zegler, who's playing Snow White, is famous for saying this about the storyline.
They contend that this decision feels less like thoughtful representation and more like a dismissal of the story's foundational elements. Even more polarizing is the removal of the prince and the love story. Disney and Rachel Zegler have touted this change as a progressive evolution, but fans see it differently. They argue that Snow White was never about passively waiting for a prince to save her. The prince symbolized hope, rewarding her kindness, resilience, and selflessness in overcoming adversity. Removing this element, critics claim, misrepresents the story's heart and undermines its emotional depth. These changes are seen by many as part of a broader trend. Disney fixing supposed problems in its classics that audiences never considered problematic. Instead of enhancing the story, critics describe these adjustments as driven by a corporate agenda to conform to modern sensibilities, often at the expense of storytelling and audience expectations. The mounting backlash highlights deeper flaws in Disney's live-action remake strategy. What began as a seemingly foolproof formula to cash in on nostalgia has devolved into a cycle of diminishing financial returns and growing fan discontent. The overwhelming rejection of Snow White's second trailer suggests Disney's attempt to modernize its classics, while disregarding their original charm, has finally hit a breaking point. This controversy goes far beyond just another remake. It signals what many industry watchers see as Disney's growing disconnect from its core audience. While the studio remains focused on addressing perceived issues in their classics, audiences are increasingly rejecting what they see as needless tampering with beloved stories. The shocking 14-to-1 dislike ratio on the latest trailer is a glaring metric of this widening divide. For Disney and CEO Bob Iger, the timing couldn't be worse. The studio is already reeling from a string of box office flops, and the explosive backlash to Snow White highlights a failure to learn from past missteps. Instead of rethinking their approach to remakes, they seem to be doubling down on divisive creative choices, further alienating their loyal audience base. Disney's heavy investment in this particular vision for Snow White makes the situation even more precarious. With substantial resources sunk into the project, they now face tough decisions about the film's future. The overwhelmingly negative response to the second trailer suggests that even drastic measures, like reshoots or rebranding, may not be enough to salvage the audience's trust or interest. The cultural fallout from this controversy has transcended typical film criticism.
Except they weren't really the 7 dwarves anymore, but instead they were called like the 7 magical creatures or something like that. They kind of fixed the issue in the trailer by having them look like the classic dwarfs from the animated movie, but the problem now is that they're completely CGI'd where they could have just had real actors play these characters instead. It gets even worse when you find out Rachel Zegler, who plays Snow White, already expressed how much she hates the story of the original film, which is probably the worst way to be marketing a $300 million movie that's already becoming a nightmare.
Marking what many see as a watershed moment in the relationship between audiences and studios. Unlike previous Disney remakes, which often faced mild skepticism, this backlash feels deliberate, with fans seemingly banding together to send Disney a clear and unmistakable message. The massive gap between likes and dislikes on the trailer isn't random. It's a coordinated pushback against decisions that fans feel ignore their concerns. At its core, this controversy represents years of mounting frustration with what many perceive as Hollywood's dismissive approach to traditional audiences. Snow White has become a lightning rod for a much bigger debate, not just about changing classic stories, but about the perceived arrogance of trying to fix tales that fans believe were never broken in the first place. Audience backlash has zeroed in on what many call Disney's performative progressivism. Rather than updating these stories naturally for modern audiences, critics argue Disney's approach feels forced and artificial. The removal of key elements like the dwarfs and the prince, marketed as improvements, is widely seen as corporate virtue signaling rather than genuine, thoughtful storytelling. What's striking about this controversy is its ability to unite such a broad audience in opposition. This isn't just criticism from traditional Disney fans or conservatives. It's coming from all sides, with viewers agreeing that Disney has strayed too far from what makes these stories timeless. The widespread rejection signals a deeper issue with how Disney approaches storytelling and engages with its audience. Disney's current challenges extend far beyond the immediate Snow White controversy. The studio is caught in a seemingly irreconcilable conflict, balancing the financial need to remake beloved classics with the demand to modernize them without alienating their audience. This tightrope act has become increasingly difficult to manage, as the backlash surrounding Snow White makes clear. At the heart of the problem is Disney's apparent misunderstanding of its audience. While the studio seems convinced these classics require sweeping modern updates, the overwhelming negative response suggests viewers want faithful adaptations that honor the originals. This misstep has left Disney's massive marketing efforts struggling to overcome growing resistance from fans. The timing of this uproar couldn't be worse for Bob Iger and Disney's leadership. With Iger returning to steer the company through turbulent times, he now faces a major release that has turned into a lightning rod for criticism.
Prince. She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
She single-handedly managed to describe a plot that absolutely nobody in their right mind was asking for when they thought about Snow White. And I get it, it's not entirely her fault. Disney has a clear agenda. But if they've taken in the backlash and decided to change out the dwarfs, what else are they going to change for the 2025 release?
The intense backlash, targeting both the film's creative choices and its stars' public comments, has created a multifaceted crisis that won't be solved easily. Industry observers argue that Disney has fallen into a self-perpetuating trap. Their reliance on nostalgia, combined with an eagerness to reshape classic stories, has created an unsustainable tension. The colossal dislike ratio on the Snow White trailer is a glaring sign that audiences have grown tired of what they perceive as disrespect toward cherished properties. The fallout from the Snow White controversy could redefine how studios approach remakes moving forward. The staggering 14-to-1 dislike ratio on the second trailer sends a clear message. Audiences have had enough of unnecessary modernizations of timeless stories. This isn't just another failed remake. It feels like a pivotal moment that may signal the end of Hollywood's current approach to legacy content. The emerging takeaway is clear. Audiences don't reject updates outright, but they do reject changes that feel condescending or dismissive of the original. The strong backlash to Rachel Zegler's remarks highlights growing resistance to what many see as Hollywood's disregard for traditional storytelling and audience sentiment. Even before its release, Snow White has become a symbol of the disconnect between studios and their viewers. Financially, the implications could be profound. Disney's dependence on remakes of its classics may require a major overhaul. The passionate backlash to Snow White suggests that owning beloved intellectual property isn't enough. Audiences expect studios to show respect for these stories and the qualities that made them enduring. This could prompt Disney to reconsider not just how they remake classics, but whether some should be remade at all. This controversy may mark a turning point in how studios engage with their audiences. The days of assuming every remake will automatically succeed appear to be over. Going forward, studios might need to focus on why these stories resonated in the first place and how to retain that magic while making thoughtful updates for modern viewers. The Snow White debacle of 2025 may well be remembered as the moment audiences said, "Enough is enough," forcing Hollywood to rethink its entire approach to storytelling. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more deep dives into the most controversial moments and shocking truths, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. We've got more eye-opening stories and jaw-dropping revelations coming your way. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and share this video with someone who'd love it. Until next time, this is Gossip Spill, and I'll see you in the next one.